All right. Kyle Rittenhouse. I'm sure nobody knows of that name. Nobody's heard about it. Hasn't been in the news. Let's beat that dead horse just a little bit more for everybody. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to read this. This is something that I typed up.
Oh, you actually typed it up? Sweet.
Title of this video. What do you call Vigilante? Vigilante goes on a shooting spree and terrifies America. Right? Yeah, you had said something about Shields should do a Rittenhouse gun special.
It's like the Rittenhouse special, yeah.
For the weekend.
Hey, man, he's got lawyers to pay for now.
Yeah, man, the guy's rich, I think. So I'm going to give you guys just a little rundown. I'm going to read through this quickly, and then if we need to, we'll talk about it. But this is going to cover everything. This is just the simple version of what happened. You might have heard all the bullcrap in the news and on everybody else's stories. You hear bits and pieces here and there. This is where it all started, and this is how it happened. Yeah, everybody hears you. Well, yeah, you hear what they want you to hear. So, on August 23rd of 2020 in Kenosha, Wisconsin, 29-year-old Jacob Blake, because this is where this is all started at. 29-year-old Jacob Blake was celebrating his son's birthday at his son's mother's house. At some point, an argument occurred between the boy's mother and the neighbor. Jacob Blake said he decided to leave. The only problem is he had no vehicle. So he took the woman's keys to her rental car. As he was trying to leave, she called the police to report that he was taking her car and she did not want him to. 3 officers responded to that call. On the way to the scene, they were alerted to the fact that Jacob Blake has a warrant for domestic violence offenses and sexual assault. The officers arrive to the scene. They tell Blake that he has a warrant and they attempt to arrest him. Blake resists and the police deploy stun guns several times, to which he just pulls him out of his skin and continues on. The officers continue trying to arrest Blake and they fall to the ground. A pocket knife falls out of Blake's pocket. He picks up the knife and begins to walk away from the police officers to the driver door of the rental vehicle. He says he was going to check on his children in the car. The officers are now following Blake with lethal guns drawn and yelling at him to drop the knife. He opens the car door, leans inside, and is shot 7 times. He gets shot 4 times in his back and 3 times in his side, and it leaves him paralyzed partially from the waist down. So all of this happened during the height of Black Lives Matter protests that were going on at the time, and they were over the George Floyd and the Breonna Taylor cases. Protesters, for whatever reason, added Jacob Blake's name to that list that they were rioting and peacefully protesting over. So after Jacob Blake's shooting, protesters were in full swing in the streets of Kenosha, Wisconsin to protest against quote-unquote systematic racism. More and more police officers were sent to these locations to control the crowds, and things began to get bad. For the next 48 hours after the shooting, the protests intensified, and at night, local businesses were looted and set on fire. Eventually, dozens of men equipped with military-style weapons and gear insert themselves into the scene in an attempt to aid law enforcement and help protect businesses. More of these men are called to the scene by a post published from a Facebook group called the Kenosha Guard. The post reads this. It said, "Any patriots willing to take up arms and defend our city tonight from the evil thugs, ? No doubt they are currently planning on the next part of the city to burn tonight." End quote. So thousands of people see this post on Facebook, and more men with weapons arrive. Among those men is 17. Among those, I won't call him a man because he was a boy. He was 17 years old. Among those is 17-year-old Kyle Rittenhouse. Rittenhouse lived about 20 minutes outside of Kenosha in Antioch, Illinois. I don't know why I add that S. Rittenhouse has a friend. He had a friend named Dominic Black, who was 18 at the time and used Rittenhouse's money to purchase a rifle at a Wisconsin hardware store in May of 2020. The two reportedly agreed that Black would keep the rifle until Rittenhouse turned 18 in January of 2021. So this was one of those things that was like talked about, and I still don't understand how he was able to get away with all of this, being that he did it with an assault rifle and he was only 17 years old. But we can talk about that.
Yeah.
Wait, well, go ahead and say it.
Well, I was going to say, because he's in a place where he's allowed to carry a gun at 17.
Right, because Wisconsin is an open carry state. Does that mean it's age open?
Well, then they tried him as an adult.
Yeah. So it's kind of hard.
They tried him as an adult.
So if he's an adult, he should be able to have a weapon, right?
Okay. Okay, so that makes more sense.
I thought it was his uncle that like brought the gun over.
No, it was his friend. And Kyle had come across into Wisconsin, and that's where his friend lived, and they had bought the gun in Wisconsin, and they had decided to leave it there with his friend, Dominic Black. They left it at Dominic Black's house, and they were going to leave it there until Kyle turned 18 in January of 2021. Rittenhouse would later testify in court that he drove himself from his home in Illinois to Kenosha on August 24th, 2020, one day before the shootings happened. So on Tuesday, August 25th, this is the next day after Rittenhouse gets to Kenosha, the protesters were peacefully marching on the streets of Kenosha during the day. This is the daytime. And the arrival of the armed men begins to inflame that situation. So all these guys are showing up based off of this Facebook post. And they're standing around watching these protests, and people are starting, obviously people start getting crazy, you know. As the day turns to evening, the men position themselves near the businesses that were damaged on the previous quote-unquote peaceful protest. Rittenhouse joins the group, and he's got a medical bag and his rifle that was purchased by his friend. So the daytime protests come to an end. Law enforcement comes in, and they announce a curfew to the crowd that remains. This curfew is an attempt to not have a repeat of the previous night's riot. The interaction between the police and the protesters becomes more violent as the night goes on, but most of the protesters actually left and went home. The ones who stay eventually get pushed further and further by the police down the street toward where the Kenosha Guard have positioned themselves. And this was just a few blocks away from the protesters, but they set up by these buildings that had been looted and burned down the previous night. As the two groups begin to run into each other, the protesters now begin to argue and fight with the Kenosha Guard as well as the police. There are antagonists on both sides. One of the militia members claimed that a police officer told him that they would push the protesters out of the park and the militia would handle them, but this was never proven and the chief denied it, so we don't know. As the protesters went further down the street, Joseph Rosenbaum joins the crowd. And everybody's heard Joseph Rosenbaum's name. People always talk about he was a child molester, and he had just gotten out of the hospital. He was there for mental problems, and he literally had his hospital bag with him full of all of his stuff. And that's actually ties into this story. Rosenbaum joins the crowd, and he's very aggressive towards the Kenosha members, causing even the other protesters to try to stop him. So everybody, including the militia groups, were like telling this guy, hey, you need to calm down. Even the protesters that he was supposedly with. So this is the final paragraph here. Later that night, Kyle Rittenhouse is seen walking toward a parking lot where cars are being vandalized. On his way, he passes Joseph Rosenbaum, who starts chasing him toward the parking lot. Joseph throws the plastic bag full of his belongings at Rittenhouse. At the same time he does this, and this is all on video, I'm sure you've seen it. At the same time Rosenbaum throws this bag, a man behind Rosenbaum holds up a handgun and fires it in the air, and nobody knows why he did that. Rosenbaum then lunges at Rittenhouse, and Rittenhouse turns around and fires 4 shots at him. So Rosenbaum is done. He's out. Rittenhouse is standing next to Rosenbaum. He calls a friend, then he runs away from the scene, with the protesters now chasing and yelling at him. Rittenhouse trips and falls, and one protester, Anthony Huber, runs up and hits him in the head with a skateboard. Now, it didn't say this, but before Anthony Huber runs up and hits him in the head with a skateboard, this guy comes over and also kicks him in his face or his chest, too.
Yeah, he's like in a jump kick on him.
Yeah, he like runs over and jump kicks him, and then Anthony Hubbard runs up, smashes him with his skateboard. Rittenhouse, and he actually smashes him with the skateboard and tries to take his gun from him, but he trips, and Rittenhouse swings the gun around, fires a shot straight into Anthony Hubbard's chest. Just one shot, and he falls. At the same time, Gage Groscrews was also approaching Rittenhouse with his own gun drawn. So Gage Groscrew was the medic that just apparently he like goes around to protest, and he says he's just going there to help people who might get injured, right? But he has a gun. He said that's my right to carry a gun, so he keeps the gun on him. But for whatever reason, he was running up to, and there's a lot, because I would have a gun on my hand too if this guy had a gun, but because no one knew what the situation was. So Groscrews goes running up to Rittenhouse right after Rittenhouse shoots Anthony Hubbard. He runs up to him, and he has his pistol in his hand, and he gets shot straight through his arm. The crowd scatters. Rittenhouse gets up and runs towards the police.
But you can see how Rittenhouse would shoot him.
Obviously, yeah. I'd have shot him too, right? I'd have shot everybody that Rittenhouse shot that night, as far as I could tell. Yeah. So
he heard a gunshot. He thinks he's getting attacked, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, you gonna shoot later or shoot first, right?
Right. And he did really well, considering the way the situation all played out. And he has good aim. But, so I don't know what else you can say about that situation. The only thing that I was a little bit like during, after Kyle Rittenhouse was arrested, I believe, or placed in custody, there's like a bunch of pictures circulating of him flashing that symbol, you know, that is apparently like a neo-Nazi, like KKK member. He's doing this in a bunch of the pictures. It doesn't matter to me. I couldn't care less. I just don't understand why you would do that it really doesn't matter, because he shot 3 white guys. But I just don't understand what you're not helping yourself. You know, even if he is a neo-Nazi and we don't know about it, I truly don't care. But he wasn't helping himself by putting the little stupid little symbol up. Whatever people say it means okay, you know, it doesn't anymore. The year is 2021. People have taken over, just like the gay people took the rainbow. People have taken over that hand symbol. It's now a KKK thing, okay? I don't care what you say. It is. So he was flashing that in a bunch of pictures after his arrest. So that was the only thing I could think of for why Black Lives Matter people are going freaking nuts over this. Other than that, what's your problem? It was self-defense. It's all on video. Like, what's the deal? What is everybody fired up about? This shouldn't even have been an issue. It shouldn't have been in the like as big of a news story as it was.
But you know who is in trial right now?
Who?
You know why all this happened?
Why? Because of Jacob Blake?
Because of and Epstein and his girlfriend. Guess who's in case right now in court?
The madam?
Not getting any coverage.
The madam? Oh yeah, I thought they killed her already. She's still alive?
His girlfriend, they put her in court. They wanted to make sure nothing. Yeah, she's in court right now. Well, all this coverage is going on. Not a peep.
Yeah. That's a conspiracy theory, right?
I guess, but why wouldn't they be taught? Why is that not a big deal?
Well, we're going to cover it in our next video. Yeah. I didn't know about that.
It should be.
As far as the Rittenhouse thing, like, what else do you have to say about that? Is there anything else? Like, it was
your whole thing, yeah. And then his TikTok thing was hashtag 4-door more whores.
That was Kyle.
4 doors, more whores.
That was Kyle Rittenhouse's TikTok name.
Yeah, that thing's gonna blow up.
4 doors, more whores.
And then he had a picture wearing a T-shirt that said "Shot 3 guys, still 3 months later" and shit like that. And they brought all that into the court case, and they like tried to use it against him. And even the judge was like, "Listen,
it's stupid.
We're not here to judge him on his very poor judgment."
Yeah, he didn't.
They couldn't use any of it. Like,
right.
17 and stupid. So he did all sorts of dumb shit.
Yeah, he did a lot of things that, I don't know. It seemed pretty pointless for him to do, but
it is and it's not, because it got him more coverage. It made him more popular.
Do you want this kind of popularity though? Wow, is this good popularity for him?
Publicity might help them in a certain situation. It might have helped.
It's the dumbest.
It can and it can't, I guess.
Yeah.
It might have worked in his favor.
Right.
Too.
Even if I got acquitted, I don't know if I'd be hitting the streets the next day.
No, man, I'd be in hiding.
Yeah, he's even the jurors. They said that. Did you watch that video I sent with the court case? Did you watch the verdict and everything?
Yeah.
Did you watch the judge at the end when he's talking to the jurors?
Yeah.
And saying all this stuff about like, yeah, you know, police protection. Da, da, da.
Yeah, he said they didn't have to talk to anybody or interview with anyone, but they could if they wanted to. What the hell would you need to interview the jurors for? We know everything. What are you going to ask them?
Well, they're going to want to know why they voted what they voted.
You're going to say, what? Are you racist? Why did you vote? You know?
If it's CNN or...
What I thought was beautiful...
they'll probably go that way.
What I thought was beautiful was how they brought up... A bunch of the news networks were bringing up how they were listing out how Kyle Rittenhouse was able to pick the jurors. He did that in the hat drawing thing. The judge allowed him to pick out the names. And they're like... He picked like 4 white men. They made sure... It's like, what the hell does it matter? Like... First of all, it was like a random thing. There's no way he knew whose names he was picking. They're like, he picked 4 white this, 3 white that, and only 1 black guy. They're like, it has nothing to do with black people.
That's
like
what Morgan Freeman said. That's why racism is still a thing.
Because they make it a thing.
Because that's like your #1 description on how you describe someone. Instead of saying it's a male or female or whatever.
Exactly.
It's always a white guy or a black guy.
Exactly. And that is why I even hate talking about this stuff, because I want to just say, this man did this man did that. You notice how when I read that thing in the news story, when they were talking about Jacob Blake, they said the police shot another unarmed guy, right? I didn't say anything about his race, and I won't. If I can help it, I'll call it a man or a woman. This man did this woman did that. Okay, because you're giving people a crutch to fall on, like, oh, he was black, like, poor guy, like all of these things, okay? And this all started with this one guy, and they were rioting in the streets already because of Breonna Taylor and George Floyd, and they just needed another excuse. But they were these protesters were burning down buildings and looting cars and destroying people's property, and people came in to defend that, which is their constitutional right. And in the process of that, a couple of people got shot who were very aggravated and very aggressive individuals, okay? And who does that? Who runs at a guy with a rifle? I'm going to go the other direction. Idiots. But we have this rose-colored view of what violence really is in America. And it's like I always say, because people, we see things blurred out on the news all the time. So it's lost its reality to us how violence really works, you know? Everything I see, I'm surprised they didn't blur all of this out. I watched that video. I saw people get shot in this case. That's what you need to see. So these guys are running up to him with his I think it was an AR-15, right?
Yeah.
Whatever it was. They were running up to him with this rifle in his hand thinking they didn't have that fear, because apparently they're not seeing real violence in their little lives, their easy little lives. So people are running up to this guy holding a rifle, and he's terrified for his life. Yeah. And you're running up and you don't think he's going to shoot you? Like, that was a beautiful thing that he shot those 2 people, you know? And I don't say that in the fact that it's great that they're dead. I say it in the fact that they were attacking him, and it was beautiful that he was able to defend himself and he was able to go home. Because you should be allowed to defend yourself in this country. That is a law. That's a right that a lot of people have died for.
And the reason they were there in the first place is a good thing too, because obviously there was the rioting and everything was going on before this in other states, and they seen what was happening to other businesses and everything, so they're just trying to protect. I mean, half the people there probably worked at those places, and they didn't want those places destroyed.
Yeah, a lot of people showed up.
You're taking away people's livelihoods, you know?
Right.
How they pay for things, and you're going to demolish it in 2 minutes and burn it to the ground?
Yeah.
Some people work their whole lives to get what they have.
Exactly.
And it's like, no, they're not going to just let you take that away from them, you know?
Yeah, and the argument that people were using was one of the women, what was his name? The Hubbard guy. Was it Anthony Huber, his girlfriend, in an interview, she goes, Kyle Rittenhouse, he came across state lines. He didn't even live here. This wasn't even his town. What was he doing here?
It's not his town, but it's his country.
Yeah. It's like, what do you mean? Like, you don't want anybody to be there to defend these businesses that you guys are burning down and these vehicles that you're looting? You think people just shouldn't show up? Who cares if they're from out of town? You know, it's like, what the hell are you talking about? He came from out of town for this. Now, the only argument that people have, I think, is Kyle flashing up Nazi signs and stuff. I'm going to give him that, okay? That's not okay. He did it, whatever. I genuinely don't care, but that's you're antagonizing people. And you're kind of giving them an argument by doing that. If he is or if he isn't, you're giving people a massive argument for them to hate you, buddy, you know?
Because it goes, you know, anyway, it's the same as somebody flashing up gang symbols or anything else. You're just putting your name out, making a bad thing for yourself.
Yeah. You're giving that half of people, you took away what little opportunity you had to maybe prove to them that you weren't a monstrous killer who was just out wanting to shoot people that night. Because this, you flash that around, that doesn't mean, that's not a peaceful symbol to flash around. It's a violent, aggressive, hateful, racist thing. If it is what we all think it is, which it's been commandeered. I'm telling you right now, it doesn't mean okay anymore, okay? So by you doing that, you didn't help anybody, you know? So you gave them an argument. Now they really hate you, and they're going to continue now. So, you know, he's young. Whatever. Good job. You did it though. It's a good picture of how our justice system should work in this country. And it's, you know, what more can we say? Anything else?
No. That's a wrap?
Nah, dog. Can you give us our outro, man?
Peace.
Man, cue the music.
Cue the music.
Oh, there's nothing more I can do. The skis has spoken. The music has been cued. BTG squad out.
Hey, check these out.
Yeah. Hold those up right before we let the credits roll. Jared Jackson, Errol, Zafke, and David Fox in this bish. Oh, damn, should have cursed. All right, we'll catch you guys in the next video.
Peace.
Peace.